1. Let's play. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Secrets X Dungeon. My name is Luke McPhan. I am the Dungeon Master here for the game. Tonight we have 7 of our characters in the house. We have Chris playing Falcor, Beck playing Ko, Gabby playing Beleaguer or Bell, Alex playing Davos, and this time Alex will also be playing Thorax as our druid is missing this week, Magnus, who is played by Matt, and Jordan, who would be playing Syl. Tonight, we join our adventurers back in the city of Daggerford. They have been through the night market after escaping the archives of Daggerford and have headed back into town to get a restful night's sleep. Some having drinks, others just relaxing and getting a night's sleep, attuning to some weaponry that they found within the archives. The day ensued and people were trying to figure out what to do next. Davos reminded the party that they had mentioned they would go and take the body of Mosing, a tiefling that was a devout follower of Lathander, back to the Lightwatch Tower where he was first found and have his body buried there. The adventurers thought this was, something to do. They went ahead, collected his body from the temple to Lathander in Daggerford, and they were on their way to getting on the road. Davos bought a saddle for a horse, a bridle for it as well so that it could be ridden, and begun casting a spell rather than purchasing a horse at the stockyards. Behind him, the wagon containing the coffin of Mosing was sitting idly as Gabby, our lovely little necromancer, came up and upon arriving at level 5 and figuring a few things out with her spellbook, realized that she would be able to animate the dead. Using the Raise Dead spell, Beleaguer spent about a minute casting runes across the outside of the coffin and waiting, slowly realizing she had control of the body within. She punched forth through the top of the coffin, the body opening the coffin and sitting upright. And at this point in time, Davos caught a bit of movement out of the corner of his eye and turned to see the undead now tiefling sitting, staring back at him. So this is where we pick up, guys. Davos, you are partway through casting your spell of Find Steed, and you see this all occur.
So as of the end of the last episode, so as I'm casting this and I see this, I shout, "What have you done?" And I go into a rage. I'm very angry because you're raising the dead of somebody we're laying to rest, which is the opposite of what I want to do, and I am very angry.
Knowing that I've upset him so much has made me so happy.
Can my eyes go red? Can my eyes go red and
I control our friend to flip him off.
Yeah, certainly. What it looks like is that usually tieflings don't have pupils or anything. They're just kind of a single shade of whatever color your eyes are. And at this point in time, you can see that there's a fire that's kind of burning behind the lens of his eye, Bell, and Davos is just completely enraged. His nostrils are flared, his eyes are wide open, and there's this kind of almost presence around him that's extremely juxtaposed to the spell that he was casting and the devout paladin nature that he usually has.
I'm also causing the ground to tremor, as is my can for you. So it's tremoring. Gabby, the ground is tremoring. There is fire in my eyes. I'm angry.
I turn to Ko and I'm like, people call me edgy.
Now there's thunder. There's thunder as well. I can get 3 of these going at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay?
The ground.
I welcome this.
I intimidate check you.
How did you get this has no...
You're just adding to the spectacle of it, Davos.
So go ahead.
No, I'm intimidating.
So go ahead and roll an intimidation check with advantage because of all of the things that are going on right now. You have the ground around the cart is shaking. There's this thunderous noise that seems to be originating.
14 plus 6.
So it's a 20. You're relatively sort of rattled right now, Gabby. Belle.
Yeah, that's right.
I still have an undead. Can I use my undead to flip him off?
Yeah, you see Davos is just like staring directly at you. What have you done? And then
he's really religious, isn't he? Can I just do like that action?
Which one?
I get him to do that action.
Yeah, just you see this zombie just kind of
like intimidated. You're intimidated.
Bones creaking, kind of like.
No, I
won the contest.
Intimidate check. Yeah, I intimidated her.
What happens here, Belle, is you go to do this, and you see Mosing's shoulders kind of creak, and he's just like, and he kind of like sits down. You can see that one of his fists sitting inside of the coffin is currently arranged, flipping Davos off, but you've been caught off guard by like the entire like fury that is this paladin. Meanwhile, Davos, the spell behind you is kind of still holding. You thought that you would have dropped it, but you can see that some of the sigils that you've drawn in the air are still flaring, and you see that one at a time they kind of turn from like this golden light. You can see that it begins to turn to like an amber, and then they almost begin like burning and on fire with a red coal.
Wanted a horse. I just wanted a
third
horse.
or fourth symbol is just flashing now, like erupting into flame. The next one erupts into flame. You can see that like a circle of soot begins to like run around the outside of these sigils near the binding that you've got, and the spell like goes off. It is cast, and as you turn back around, what do you see?
As in, which at the where I was summoning the horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of worried this was gonna happen. Yeah, I have a demon horse now. It is jet black and its eyes are on like.
I've got like love hearts in my eyes. I'm so happy right now.
It almost looks a little like so there are creatures within D&D that are called nightmares, and they are essentially horses of the apocalyptic times within the fiendish realms. They have fire within their manes. Their eyes are constantly burning, and there's this kind of like trail of fire that like leaves from the back of the eye. And you can see that this creature, like the manifestation of Davos's fury, has obviously pushed itself into this spell as he's been casting it. And in this time, the gift that he receives from Lathander is something analogous to a nightmare. It looks like a furious horse. You can see that near the nail bed of this horse, there's kind of like weeping cuts. The fur is a little bit shaggy. In some spots, it's kind of like almost pitched down. It's a bit of a hodgepodge of like, uniform coat, but there's definitely like a fury to this creature, and you can see that as soon as it like appears out of this burst of flame in front of the cart, it just brays, and you see like sort of smoke come straight out of its nostrils, and it looks back at you, Davos, and it just sort of walks towards you slightly, nudges you on the shoulder, and then looks at the rest of the group, and the rest of you just sort of see this creature like almost peering into you, as though this is some kind of what would you call it? Some kind of it's like peering right into your being. You feel like you're being judged on a spiritual level by this creature. Uh-oh.
For me, because like I was.
Okay, go again.
All right. Yeah. So this is a bit shocking because I wasn't expecting this, and I'm kind of a little bit angry because I didn't want things that look evil, but I have a telepathic bond with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's conflicting because I pretty much understand everything about it already, and we're very well bonded.
Yeah. So you can already tell that this creature is just like, who caused this rage? Who was the one that made this occur? And it's like almost as though the creature is as infuriated by what has occurred as you are.
Yeah. So, but like, already I'm starting to realize that I've got nothing against the horse, but it's like my heritage that I'm upset with.
Yeah.
That I've got like this. Yeah. Anyway, I don't communicate any of this to these fuckers.
Yeah.
So
you're just kind of staring.
I continue being angry. I continue being angry at Belle.
Fair.
I'm totally fine with that.
Cool. So Belle, currently Davos standing in front of you with this nightmarish creature, is just looking at you intently with extreme displeasure, and you currently still have control of Mosing, but you're pretty worried that Davos could kind of snap at any point. Yeah.
So then I look at the group and I said, well, what are we waiting for? Should we just go? Like, don't need to thank me or anything. I've just made transporting so much easier.
Well, go where now? We're not burying him anymore.
Aren't we supposed to be going back down south?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are
He's
burying
alive.
him.
You can't bury what's alive. That's murder.
He won't. He is dead.
And
he needs to be laid to rest. This is no life.
Well, it looks like he's pretty alive to me, Davos.
Oh, God.
So how's Soju going, by the way?
Magnus, you jump in on this. You're the smart one.
All right.
He doesn't want to jump in.
Asking me to jump in. I'm going to close the book and put it away because I was reading the whole time. I was like, oh, the ground.
Oh, you're reading the whole time. Come on.
This is inconvenient.
But, yeah, you see, okay. Magnus is probably about maybe 30 feet away from everything that's happening. It's kind of like the last minute where Belle has been casting this spell. A few people have begun to walk over to see what she's doing. Magnus is just kind of flipping through his book, continuously reading. I'm assuming one of the books that you've just bought at the Broken Spine. And
yeah, the one about the courts.
Yeah, cool. So you close that, sit it beside you for a minute, and you're just like, right, and walk over.
So yeah, I've been listening the whole time, but reading, and I'm just going to come over and be like, all right, Beleaguer, it's great that you have mastered this magic you've been working on for so long. Wonderful. I'm very proud of you. However,
I like this.
What you need to understand in this situation is a person of great spiritual importance to Davos and to the followers of Lathander. It is perhaps a subject for you to be practicing this work on. So what I'm going to suggest is, Beleaguer, if you let go of the enchantments on this body, we will lay it to rest as Davos wants, and at Lightwatch Tower there will be many other things for you to practice this craft on.
At this point, I butt in and I kind of push you aside, Magnus, and kind of look at you in the face, and I kind of say, well, hasn't she done good by bringing him back? Isn't that what you want, Davos? And I look at you.
He is not back. This is not him.
He looks alive.
How do we know this?
This is.
Have you talked to him?
This is reanimation, not resurrection. It's a
What's the difference?
Guys, we're not thinking about the undead rights here. Come on, that's right.
Do you think? Okay, so Falcor, does he have a right to live?
It depends. It comes down to if there's a soul in there or not. If there's a soul, he has rights. And if we fuck with him and he has a soul, we don't have the right to put him down.
we have a duty to put his soul at rest and not let it live here without this free will. Who controls him? Is it only him?
We don't know that yet.
But literally, I've just saved everyone from having to lug a whole cart around. He can just literally walk.
I have a fucking horse. Look at the horse. Why do you think I got a horse?
Because it's awesome looking.
Chloe backs away.
Yes.
Cool.
It's a horse which literally attaches to this carriage.
Paladins require horses. I'm pretty sure that's.
Can I re-intimidate check her?
No, she's already.
No.
She's relatively stable. Like stable. But there's one thing. Ko, go ahead and roll an insight check. Just looking across at Mosing at the moment.
It's not good. It's a 1, not a nat 1, but it's a 1.
But it went down to 1. Okay. You look at him and you're just like, he's a fucking tiefling. And he's still got like the horn ridges that go across the top of his head. His skin's like pale, but still pinkish.
Chloe doesn't get the difference. She's never seen this before. And so she's just like, he's alive, of course.
Yeah, like Belle's a fucking huge deal. She just brought someone back to life.
He's my best friend, and like, there's a dude there, and I'm like, cool, dude.
Cool.
Hold on, back to life. So alive.
Well, that's what I think. I don't know.
The DM said it. It
So
is
Falcor,
now 100%.
It's canon.
Falcor, you remember when fighting this creature, and you were actually close enough to see what happened when you were fighting the demon that Mosing was kind of wrestling with way back. Temporally, it's only like a day ago, but it's like 4 sessions ago now. You know that when Mosing died, you remember hearing a voice that cackled and said, "Now you're mine." And you saw shadow sort of being drawn from Mosing's body. And that kind of gives you the idea that perhaps he had bound his soul to some sort of servitude.
Okay. Well, if that's the case and there's no soul, then I think we need to put it down.
Yeah.
But once we
Belle's still not feeling it.
Okay, look, Beliga. So
this is personal.
But the thing is, I can break the spell when we get there. I'm not saying that I'm keeping him alive forever. I just want to go there and then dead giveaway.
At this point, I kind of tap Belle on the shoulder and go, "What do you mean keeping him alive?"
Are we dead set on this? Oh yeah, I went there.
Disadvantage.
okay.
Wait, I'm sorry. I don't want to play D&D anymore.
Okay. So you guys argue back and forth for a while about the nature of undead. Falcor obviously has some knowledge on this topic, which intrigues some of you. And Magnus,
I'm just confused.
You're about to say something.
Okay. Beliga,
Yes.
I want you to look at Davos for me.
I have to.
Look at him. Yes.
Really?
Tell me what you see right now. Tell me about his demeanor.
He's a sad little man-child. You forget that I'm really young for my age, and I'm not a mature person.
I know.
So you can't reason with me.
I can try. What you're seeing.
I got a 20, Gabby.
What you're seeing is distress. He's under distress. He's angry. He's upset. Davos, as obstinate as he may be, is your companion, your friend, if you will. Surely feel this way. Secondly, you know that I support you and I support your academic growth in this subject, but this isn't the being to do it on. This being needs to be laid to rest. Faith. Think of all of the people that would be affected by this.
But I'm going to break it when we get there. We're gonna go to Light Tower. He's gonna pray him around through the city. Then we're gonna Light Tower, and then we can break
Having him reanimated even for that time is going to continue to cause him duress, which is going to make him less effective in combat.
Okay, can I have him for 2 hours? Can I have him for 1 hour? He's my best friend now. We're like buddies.
Magnus, at this point you really do realise that the way that Belle is kind of talking and the way that she's kind of reasoning is that of someone that you would expect maybe like 5, almost 10 years her junior, and that she is not reasonable about this, that there's something that, you know, that triggers you that you're like, it's kind of like talking to a child right now.
Because she's a child.
Yeah.
All right. Beliga,
there has to be a compromise. It has to be a compromise.
Beliga, no.
He can't win.
You're not speaking right now. I'm speaking. You're not speaking.
You're not my real dad.
Beliga, I'm not speaking to you in that way. I would.
Matt's using real word skills.
Listen to me
right
now. I am giving you an instruction. I want you to break the spell. Do you understand?
She ponders. And then I look at
Beliga, break the spell.
You look across at Ko, and Ko's kind of standing there, and she definitely looks confused. She's gone back about maybe 10, 15 feet from like the questioning of, you know, what's going on right now, but she definitely does look confused.
I continue to back away.
Back away is awkward.
Beliga, that's enough. Break the spell now.
Okay, I break the spell.
Cool.
I'm very sad.
At this point in time, you see Mosing's body kind of like slump forward onto, like falling into himself. There's a couple of bone creaks and cracks, and as he kind of rights himself, sits back. Oh, as he kind of like falls forward, you see that the coffin lid kind of like half closes and just sits like propped open. And at this point in time, you actually see that the stockyard keeper comes around like back out of one of the stables, and looks up towards you guys, and he's like, "What's all this what is that?" And is pointing directly at the steed that you've conjured, Davos.
I glare at him because I'm still angry, and I intimidate check him to go away.
Sure, go ahead and roll an intimidation check.
It's really neat.
17 plus 6.
Cool. He looks immediately back at you and he's just like, "Forgot I asked," and kind of like hurriedly walks like with purpose towards where you know his house is. Like he goes straight for it and just kind of pushes the door open and walks in. Door just like slams shut. He's just like out of there.
Okay, and then I go over to Mosing and I put him back in the coffin and I close the coffin.
Cool. You can see that
I start attaching the horse to the carriage.
Cool.
I'm gonna go up to Beliga.
Yep.
And I'm
pretty shitty with you. I'd literally just walk away from you. I wouldn't have anything to do with you.
Cool.
As Belle, because you just told me off for doing something that I thought you'd be proud of, considering that, you know, I've been working so hard for. I literally wouldn't want to talk to you at all. If you think about like a young teenager who's just been scolded, you're not going to want to reason with anybody.
No. So
cool. Magnus will do what I would do with a teenager in this situation, and he's going to let you cool down, and he'll talk to you later.
Yeah. So you go to walk after Belle, and she's like off in a huff, like stuffing books back into her pack, and just like, you know, walking towards Ko, and it's just like, no, I'm not having a bar of this.
I still look confused, and I'm still backing away into the nearest pub, and I order a fireball whiskey.
Well, that's going to be a while. but you're just leaving the group and like while everyone's.
I'm just like, I don't know what I know anymore. I'm just so confused about it all because I thought Gabby had actually resurrected him, and then everyone's saying she hadn't, and I'm confused. Like, do I believe my best friend or what do I do?
Sure.
I intimidate her check saying, "Where are you going?"
I'd say that at this point, Davos, you're kind of like you're doing a lot. You're mentally talking with this new steed that you have. You're still furious at like anyone that's trying to ask you questions. And Ko, being her sneaky self, has actually kind of slinked away. However,
and young self.
Yeah, and young. However, as you begin walking towards like the exit of the stockyards, you notice that Syl is still kind of like stood back from this entire encounter. And as you're walking, sort of like kind of beginning to walk away, Syl, you see Ko just kind of staring at her feet, very confused and forlorn. You haven't really seen her like this before.
Yeah. So I go up to her and ask her, "Are you okay?" Can we hear Jordan right now?
Yeah. I can hear Jordan.
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. I just shrug and walk away.
Oh, this is to Ko.
Okay. Wait.
So Ko
just walk
okay.
Yeah. Sorry, Belle.
I don't know. Like, my best friend, she's saying one thing and everyone else is saying another, but I don't know. And then like my hair bursts out into flame because I'm so confused.
Well, I think she's pretty sad right now, so she might need a friend. You seem like her friend.
What do I say to her? What do I believe her? Is she right?
Does it matter to you if she's right?
Eyes, like, just to tell me what to do, like.
Oh, geez, this is something I'm not really used to. Usually, well, actually, I'll be honest. Yeah, this if there's one thing I've been taught by my master, it's that when you're unsure about anything, you should just train to be better. So, what would make you feel better right now?
But
my solution is usually punch things, but what usually makes you happy?
Killing things and stealing things.
Well, we are about to go on a trip with this thing. Yeah, we're going to go on a trip with this body here, and I'm sure there's going to be many things to kill along the way.
But don't you mean human, or is it a body? I don't know.
You know, it's a mystery, and maybe we should just wait and see. This was my first time seeing something like that. I don't know what it was. I'm going to wait till everyone chills out. I think I'll wait till they cool down and I'll ask a few questions there.
But what should I do? Should I go to Belle? Or should I don't know. She's my friend. She's my best friend, but I what if she's wrong?
Well, I don't know. I don't know the answers for you, but if there's one thing I know, it's that a wise man once told me that there'll always be another dawn. I don't know if you've heard that before. So there'll always be a better time around the corner, I think. I think that's what that means.
You get inspiration, sir. Because that's hilarious.
Yay.
Okay. So I walk away for a few minutes and I go and I buy some of that special ink that Belle's been wanting for a while for her spells. And then I go up to her, like if I can do that if it's nearby, and then I go up to her and I kind of give it to her and I sit with her.
Cool.
And say, just kind of chat with her.
Okay, so you know where you could pick it up. You know it's relatively expensive, but you've got gold at the moment, and you know that this will probably cheer Believer up.
I have platinum.
Cool. So mark off either 5 platinum or 50 gold as you buy.
5 platinum, thank you.
Cool. So you buy this vial of ink that is used for magical inscriptions, and go ahead. The vendor's like, can I interest you in 2 vials for 80 gold, perhaps?
That seems a bit expensive.
Well, I'm selling you one for 50.
How about I do you a magic trick for 1?
For 50 gold.
For 50 gold, yeah, sure, just for 1.
I mean, okay.
Yeah. And a magic trick.
Yeah, right. Great.
And so I pay the 50 gold, I take the 1, and while I'm doing the magic trick, I use sleight of hand to steal the other one.
Cool. So what's the trick that you're doing?
I kind of like something with fire. I don't really know yet. Sorry, I haven't thought this far ahead.
That's okay. So what do you think Ko would do in this instance to like try and distract the guy while you make this sleight of hand check?
She would do something with fire, like make it, just dance around, or just be like do 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 do, like this.
Like do do. You like shift the flame from one finger to the other like super quickly. And he's like, whoa, that's crazy. And then you like start running it along each of your fingers. And then you get...
And then while I'm doing that bit, I steal the other one.
Yeah, the other hand goes across the counter, like behind the counter to try and pick this up. It's going to be pretty difficult, but go ahead and roll a sleight of hand check.
22.
That's about good enough. And you pick this thing from under the counter, knowing exactly where he was drawing the inks from earlier. You grab something. You're not looking at it, you're looking at your hand as you're doing this thing. You kind of pocket it, and it's roughly the same size. You go ahead and head across to Bell, where everyone kind of finishes the short rest that they were taking after this interruption in the center of it all. And Ko, you make your way back just before everyone seems to be leaving. Davos has probably bridled the horse by this time, is getting the coffin like as cleaned up as possible. You can see that he's like pushing splinters back down to try and like get this like white veneer of the coffin as close to resembling what it was before the zombie fist came punching through it. Good luck. Yeah, everyone else is kind of standing around. So you go.
What's Belle doing?
Belle's. What are you doing, Belle?
I'm probably sulking still.
Yeah.
So I kind of come behind you, and I kind of like tap you on the shoulder rather rudely.
Yeah. So probably.
I'm looking down, and I thrust like the inks into your direction. And I'm like,
really thankful.
And I just kind of go, I don't know what just happened, but like, we're still friends, right?
I said, yeah, we're fine. And then I go back. I'm like, I don't know why we. And then I look at her. I'm like, I don't even know why we bother following these guys around. We don't get much out of it. Hey.
But what was it? I don't know what happened.
I just thought it would be easier. I was just trying to help the group, and then everyone got angry at me. And I don't understand why.
Did you bring him back to life?
Well, as far as I can from my recent study, yeah. But I'm still learning.
If you brought him back to life, then isn't that a good thing? I don't know.
Because
I don't know what I should be thinking.
Like, I said, I don't know why they wouldn't want to have an undead companion anywhere on our ventures.
But he's not undead if he's alive, is he?
Yeah, so Ko, roll a nature check here.
Nat 20.
Cool. It's like a whole heap of pieces just fall into place as you realize that Belle mentions the word undead like so offhandedly that as you realize the interest that she had in the Medica, the creatures that were destroyed at Lightwatch Tower, all undead creatures, and Belle looking at this flesh golem when you were fighting the hag kind of rings in your mind, and you can see very, very clearly in your mind this smiling Belle looking up at a 9-10 foot sewn together behemoth. And you realize in this moment that Belle is interested in the undead. There's something about that she does, and she created one.
Well, Belle, I understand what you were trying to do, and I realize how happy it made you. It's a new spell, and it's a great achievement that you did. And I realize that
being young, I'm like super I like any praise, so I'm just like just like nodding along with it.
But maybe Davis doesn't understand that, and I think you should let him know what you thought it was. But also, maybe this guy wasn't the right person to try your new powers on. I don't know.
I'm
a bit confused myself, but maybe you should talk to him. But maybe he just wasn't the right guy. I'm super proud of you, though. I think
I think about it for a while, and then I'm like, nah, I don't want to talk to him. And then I just keep doing whatever I was doing.
Yeah, cool. So at this point in time,
and I go to Sil, because he's kind of my next closest friend, and I kind of tell him this, and I'm like, but Belle is just like, she doesn't understand. She just tried it on the wrong person, I think. Mm-hmm. What should we do?
Well, after she's told me, I give her a thumbs up for going to Belle.
Do I get a gold star?
That's good. I don't carry around gold stars. All I've got is like weapons and torches.
I'll take a weapon.
Yeah, I'm good. Do you need any darts? I've got a few darts.
Always. Trying darts.
All right, I'll give her a dart. There you go. Have a dart.
Is it a
good job.
Dart?
No, it's just a regular 1d4 dart.
Oh, I love this film.
It's just a dart, and you kind of hold it in your hands for a second, and you're like, cool.
And just look up with you. This is so wonder like you're my mentor, like this.
Cool. So,
all right.
Everyone kind of finishes their rest. You all begin to pack for the journey ahead. You make your way around collecting rations if you need them.
Wait, are we still mad at each other?
I'd say that there's like an unspoken disharmony in the group, but there's definitely a job to be done. And you can see that Davos is currently very purposefully strapping the saddle, the bridle to this horse, if you can call it a horse, and making sure that the wagon will not fail as it's being sort of taken along. So you realize that...
One last question, sorry. Yeah. Is the guy still alive?
No, he's a corpse.
No, he's back in the coffin. Belle stopped her spell, and he fell back into the coffin.
Before we leave, there's one more thing I need to pick up. Well, I need to pick up for the group because we're going to be going on from Lightwatch Tower. So while I do this, can I take Falcor for a walk? Hey, Falcor, you want to come run an errand with me?
No.
Okay.
I was going to talk to Belle over there, but we can do that first and then do that.
You do you. I'll just go run this errand on my own.
It's just like, yeah, no.
Thorax says, I'll come.
Okay, little buddy, let's go.
You see that Thoju is kind of underneath Thorax at the moment. You guys begin walking through town, and it is a sight to see. Falcor, we'll get back to your chat with Belle before we leave, but we go ahead and begin heading into town. Magnus, where are you sort of leading Thoju and Thorax at this point in time.
Well, I'm going to use Thorax's local knowledge, which I have less of. And I'm going to say, so we're going to be going on from Lightwatch Tower. We're going to need a map of the continent. Where do you reckon is going to sell maps?
Well, Falcar would have actually been really good for that job.
That's a really
did you ask that to Thorax?
Yep.
The ground. He's referring to literally a life-size map, which is
like a 1-to-1 scale of looking around you as your map.
Okay. Can I
very detailed?
A random passerby.
Yeah, sure. You're walking along and you can see that there's like a couple that are walking past, and you can see that there's this woman that walks up to you. She's got like a short brunette like bob, and you kind of catch her attention. She's like, "Oh, hello. Can I help you?"
Excuse me, ma'am. Sorry to bother you, but I am fairly new to town and still finding my bearings.
Cool.
I was actually hoping to purchase a map from somewhere, and I was hoping you could tell me the best place to do that.
Oh, not a problem. I know that at least some of the general stores definitely have maps of the local area. What are you after, a cartographer or?
Yeah, if there is a specialty place, that would be ideal, but otherwise one of the general stores will do.
Yeah, I'm not 100% certain of cartographers around the place, but if you head to the general store and look for Ilman, he would be able to help you out with at least, a map of this section of the Sword Coast.
Thank you very much for that. It is really appreciated. Silver for your trouble.
Oh, no, please. It's local knowledge. I wouldn't want to impose. Have a lovely day.
Well, thank you very much.
The whole time, Thorax constantly looks at Magnus and the ground, just up and down.
Cool. Just like imposing, like, we don't need one. There is the road right here. But you begin to kind of walk through to the general store, which is kind of in the like northwestern part of town. Takes about 5-10 minutes to get to the area where you were thinking, and it's relatively like easy to see. It's well kept storefront, very large glass panes that have everything from finery that you would have inside, like cutlery and dinner sets, through some adventuring gear, very basic supplies, and into like novels. There's a couple of books about, and just random things strewn about in the sort of front of the shop. You like ring the bell and walk in, and it's definitely like well-worn floor. You can feel that the door like swings easily. It doesn't creak, and you walk inside and you can see that there's this dwarven man behind the counter, and he's kind of just shuffling a few things around. Sits like a ledger up on the counter and looks up at you, and he's like, "Hey, welcome. Can I help you with anything? What are you after?"
Hello. You must be Ilman.
Hey, that's me.
Pleasure to meet you, Ilman. My name's Magnus. I am looking for maps. I would love to see what you have in terms of maps of the local area, or if you've got anything a bit further abroad as well.
Oh, certainly. I mean, we definitely have at least from here down to Baldur's Gate if you're after something like that. North, south, heading east, or are you?
South, yeah. So towards Baldur's Gate would be wonderful.
Oh, for certain. Well, give me a minute and I'll see what I can scratch up. And he kind of walks into the back of the shop. You can see that there's a whole heap of stuff hanging around here. Just a whole heap of different accoutrements throughout the shop. You hear him open a couple of crates. There's like the creaking of like a chest. And he comes back out and he's got a couple of like scrolls that are maybe, between 2 feet and like down to relatively small sized. sections of parchment, and he drops them onto the table, and he's like, "No, I did find this," and he rolls out like the largest one first, and you can see that it's the entire Sword Coast. It runs from Neverwinter in the north all the way down past Baldur's Gate towards Kamelshan, and the sort of southern tip of the Sword Coast, before there's just a single piece at the bottom that has like the word Chult across it. It's just like the northern point of Chult. It's not the rest of the continent, but you can see that it's pretty detailed. It looks like it has been done by a cartographer. And he begins like opening up a few other pieces as well. There's one that looks like it's a more local area just between Daggerford and Baldur's Gate that does have a few things marked along it. You can see the Lonesome Coach is actually something that's been inscribed at the point. You know exactly where it is. There's the Misty Forest that comes up to the edge of the Lonesome Coach, and nothing else sort of described around the area. You can see like landmarks like northeast of Daggerford that sort of show the Unicorn Run, and it's like a section of forest that has a very strong river that runs through. There's like the Lizardman Marshes that are west of Daggerford. A whole heap of places that you can see. Relatively detailed, whereas the other is quite coarse and just gives you a general idea of where towns are and the main trade route. He says he looks at you and he just says, "Well, this one here I couldn't part with for less than 40 gold. It's very nice piece, as you can see." And he's referring to the larger map of the entire Sword Coast. And it does show a few of the areas west. Like there's a very large grasslands and like some desert area to the east, sorry. And he says that 40 gold would be about the minimum that I could part with this. And he says, but for this piece, if you're after it for more local travel, I'm not sure how far you're going. I could, 15 gold. We could change that between us.
So the smaller map, that one's got more detail for the area we're about to travel into in the immediate future, right?
Yep.
Okay. Wonderful. I will take the smaller one off your hands.
Oh, no problems. Well, it is rare that we get cartographers through, so sorry about the price on that one. And he rolls up the larger piece.
No worries. I understand. Also, I was just wondering what you would have in stock currently in the way of healing potions.
Healing potions. We do have a few. Are you looking for standard healing, greater, superior? I think I've only got one of the latter.
So what are the prices on the standard and greater?
Well, for the standard healing potions, 100 gold. The greater healing potion, we have a few, but I'd say probably. Just give me a second. I'm just checking what prices are on greater healing potions.
Did you say a standard was 100 gold?
50.
Okay.
Let's see. I'll say a greater healing potion, which I believe is 44, is going to be in the order of like 120, 150 gold. And the superior is, you hear the price and you go, oh, right. Yep, well, I will be thinking about the others. Just give me a second, I'll get that price up for you. He informs you that he's got 3 standard healing potions, and of the greater, isn't this the fun part of D&D? Looking around for prices.
It's okay, it's all too rich for my blood. I'm just going to grab the map.
He goes, not a problem. Well, if you do end up in the market, we do have, there's also the herbalist on the way out of town if you're interested in picking up something sort of not quite as potent. He'd have something for around 20 gold that may give you a little boost.
Well, I mean, my first strategy in this situation will be not to get hit, so we'll see how that goes.
That's a good way to go about it. Too many adventurers end up here asking for healing from the temple when, Sometimes it's
Discretion is the better part of valor, my friend.
Ain't that the truth? Well, have a good day, and careful with whatever that thing is. And you like point out the door, and you can see that Thorax and Thoju are like standing at the windows, and kind of Thoju's tentacles are just like drilling down the glass. What's happening outside?
And Thorax is doing the same, but with sound effects.
Yeah, cool. So he's just like just rubbing his hands.
Actually, it's the smaller one you need to worry about.
Yeah, he's a bit of a rascal. Seen him around town a bit.
But Thorax winks at Magnus, but with both eyes.
Okay, thank you very much. Good day to you.
Good day. So you go ahead and head back towards the stockade, the stockyard, where everyone is waiting about. Falcor, in this time, you kind of see Magnus comes up and he's like, "Hey, want to run an errand?" And you're like, "No." You kind of walk over to Belle to go and have a chat with her.
Yeah. So, are we away from the others?
Yeah. You can see that Belle, Ko is kind of around, but you definitely see that Belle is on her own. She's brooding.
Okay, so I let Belle know about my backstory about dead brother, which I arranged for to come back from the dead via a necromancer, and how shit hit the fan, and he was taken and put into slavery with his soul intact. So Falcor was pretty much.
I don't know shit.
Well, it's up to it's up to Chris what he wants to share.
These guys don't know. You're just hearing this third hand.
True.
This is all meta knowledge for each of your characters except Belle. So Belle, you kind of hear Falcor. He comes and sits down to you, and he's like kind of a bit, 1,000-mile gaze, and he just begins talking. And he tells you about the fact that his brother was taken, and while still having his soul bound to his body, was turned into an undead creature by a relatively powerful necromancer, and kind of he empathizes with you in this situation, realizing that there is no soul of Mosing within that body at the moment, and that kind of gives you a bit of opens up a new side of Falcor to you that you weren't aware of in the past.
So basically, with that, I want to know what this is about, and whether it's this body or something that we find later. I'm all for having it around just to see what happens, so we can explore if this is legit or not with souls and whatnot. I need to know for my brother's sake.
So my eyes light up, and I've got like a little bit of like a star, like a little bit of a sparkle. I'm like, do you really mean it?
Yeah, but only for a short amount of time. If we decide that we can't have this long term because it's not right, then we have to, agree to let it go.
Okay, actually, I just wanted to have a friend for an hour, and they just got so angry at me.
Well, they don't understand. Nobody does.
No.
Clenching fist.
So anyway, after talking to him, I take out one of my little notepads and I start writing stuff down. So, to remind me later on about our conversation.
Yeah, bits and pieces of what I mentioned. Yeah, definitely. And so this kind of perks you up a little bit, Belle. You get the idea that you're not the only one in the party that you're not going to be singled out in the party by having an affinity for the undead. You know that Magnus is a bit creepy anyway, and that there's definitely a story in in Falcor here, that has large ties to the undead. You kind of take a bit of solace in that fact, and once you've written what you need, you pack your bags and begin to get ready for travel. Everyone is now back at the location. Magnus has returned with a map, and he kind of sprawls it out and shows you that a 2-day travel from where you are now is the Lonesome Coach, and you know that it's a day travel from there out to Lightwatch Tower to bury the body of Mosing in this instance. You know that there's then from there another 5 days of travel south to Baldur's Gate. So for the best part of this week, you will be trekking around. So is anything happening before you leave town? It's probably, at this point in time, it would be close to midday. I'd say that it's probably, actually no, you all woke up real late, so it's early afternoon. You know that your travel today will be into the dark to make it to the same sort of checkpoint that you did last time, like at the top of the hills, or you can kind of camp on the way there and then arrive the next day at the dark in the dark at the Lonesome Coach. So it's up to you guys how do you want to do this?
Let's stop when it gets dark.
I think we know that campsite, so maybe we travel a bit into the dark today rather than camping somewhere unknown, unless people disagree.
Yes, and I have more faith in us as a party, despite all the things. I think that we're pretty good at fending off stuff.
Just remember that the humans among us won't be able to see great, so we'll rely on you guys to be our eyes.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
I also got this sweet horse now.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
And you look back at it.
Lucky you.
Yeah, you can just see that there's like sections of the leather at the moment, Davos, that are kind of like not charred, but they're definitely like very dried out at the edges. There's like
at the first opportunity, I would like to try and race the horse.
Oh, for sure. While it's all bridled up and ready to go. But
yeah,
you guys,
I don't want it to be carrying any dead bodies though when I do that.
Okay. Yeah, you just like take off. It takes off as well, and then the coffin goes out the back. Oh, that'd be wonderful. But it doesn't happen.
Yeah, no. Just a heads up.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
No worries. So you go ahead and begin to leave town. Everything's packed up. All bases are covered. I suppose that on your way out, you kind of stop in and, I'd imagine, give Gus a bit of an idea of where you're off to.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going on an adventure.
You walk back in, and he's just like, "Whoa, I'm gonna miss your faces. It's been good having you guys around. Mostly adventuring parties are just in it for stealing shit from me and trying to get the best over on what we've got here, but I really appreciate what you guys have done for us while you've been here. It's not often you find people that are good folk that aren't local, so thank you all."
Can we, like, so I want to inform him, like, that after whatchamacallit, after Lightwatch, we're going to go to Baldur's Gate. And I'm like, so Fencer at the Broken Spine is looking into some things for me. He's going to contact you if he finds anything. So if anything pops up, send us word.
Oh, right. Yes, well, have you got any idea where you're going in Baldur's Gate?
Any what now? What was that?
Have you got any idea where you're going in Baldur's Gate? Like, you got a place you're staying, or...
What's the most prominent inn?
Let me just have a think. And I should have prepared. I will just stutter for a little longer, suppose. Prepared a little better. BAULD.
Blanking blank. Oh, I love that place.
The blankety blank.
Whatever that place is called, he should
to be inserted.
Yeah, he gives you
Even
the name.
If we don't stay there, we can stop there.
Yeah, definitely. He says, well, if you find the busiest tavern in town, I'll definitely be able to get something there. Don't sweat about that. And he kind of...
Thank you so much.
Not a problem.
And say goodbye to Melinda for us, too.
Oh, I mean, sure. She's out picking things up at the moment, but I'll let her know that you said goodbye. And, we might have to look into putting another hand on here. You really helped us out of some shit the other night. Great. Well,
Thank you.
I'd best get back to it. See you later. And he just turns back around into the kitchen, continues cleaning some stuff up, and you all head out of Daggerford. The gate's open. You can see that at the moment Nadar is on the South Watch, and he kind of waves to you guys as you're heading out, and he's just like, "Come back. It'd be good to see you all again. You're funny folk.
Yay!
Don't bring the creature though." And you see Thorax. He's kind of looking directly at you, I suppose, Alex, in this instance. And you all make your way out, begin traveling south. And I'm going to ask, as you travel south, are you you're trying to make a fast pace, I'm assuming?
Maybe we should try and get somewhere. Steady. Maybe we should get somewhere before nightfall. Any takers?
Well, we have to camp anyway, right?
Yeah, true.
This is true.
All right.
But
I guess
we probably don't want to travel too long in the dark, though. So maybe we should make haste.
Well, maybe as the sun sets, we start looking for a place.
Okay. Cool. So you begin traveling. It's a bit of time before you actually get to a point where the sun begins to lower in the sky. Is anything happening while you're traveling along? You've kind of Davos. It's a bit.
Yeah, I got a question.
Yeah.
Oh, it's for. Oh, you finish, and I've got a question for Ko.
No worries. So Davos, it's a bit interesting, sort of being able to just mentally command a creature to do something. You're just like, oh, pick it up a bit, and just like immediately, as you think it, he just begins to like charge ahead. It's a little unsettling, but you finally like fall into a bit of a groove with the creature as you sit atop. Are you sitting atop the wagon or in the saddle?
No. I am walking alongside.
Okay, cool. So you're walking alongside. You kind of continue leading the party along.
She's also a female, and I've worked that out.
Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, it doesn't take long to figure out, but you definitely realize that this is a female horse. Does she have a name?
A Google name generator has said that it is Nefaris.
Nefaris. That's interesting. Nafaris. I'm assuming. Anyway, so what's your name? You're Sil. Sil, what were you going to say?
Hello.
Hello.
I check on Ko to see if she's still a bit lost and confused.
Yeah, great. So
hi, Ko. Are you still lost and confused?
I kind of just look at them. I'm just following the party.
I mean about before, when we saw you know what get out of the box.
Oh, I think a bit, but I also think that, I don't know, I was talking to Belle and maybe the rest of the party just doesn't understand she was trying to help.
Right. Okay.
And I don't know, I'm confused because I understand where Belle was coming from, but I don't know how to tell Davos because he's very scary. I don't like him.
He is a bit scary, yeah.
He's a tiefling.
But he seems nice. He gave me a free bed, so
no,
he must be okay.
He's with the bad people.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't care what he says.
Anyone bad won't give you a bed for free, and I've gotten one for several nights. And he hasn't done anything weird either.
I need to convert you. Or something.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm still pretty set. I just have a cool book and a nice necklace that he gave me. So, yeah, everyone. But it sounds like you're figuring it out. Yeah. I reckon,
I don't know, because
yeah.
I don't want everyone to be mad at Belle for what she was trying to do, and she was just trying to help. And maybe like that. I don't know.
See,
like
the words of
if we
my
could do
master.
like a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
You've never heard of this PowerPoint before, Sil, and you're just
No.
like, what is that?
Professional development.
I'm thinking it's like an attack. Like you, instead of a fist, you like do like a really sharp sort of fingered thing. So it's like a PowerPoint.
It's like some serious pressure point. Yep.
Yeah. Ooh. Yes. Well, all I can think of are the words of my master when he told me that people and thoughts are like clouds with different formations and speeds and heights that represent the different thoughts of each other and ourselves. And as clouds, our thoughts too shall pass. We should glide through our thoughts like birds glide through clouds. Don't resist the clouds. Fly through them.
Belle literally fell asleep because she felt like this was another lecture.
I've been to a lecture, so I would know. But I'm just like... And I'm just kind of sitting there like, whoa.
Yeah, and you look
Can
up
still
and
have
you
double inspiration.
Am I a cloud?
If I hadn't have awarded it before, I would definitely be awarding inspiration right now. But you look up Ko as he finishes.
I just kind of ask if I'm a cloud.
Am I a cloud?
Am I a cloud?
You have pretty fiery hair, so I don't think you're a cloud. You're a bit more like fire.
I'm a lightning bolt.
Yeah, that's a lot cooler. And like a lightning bolt, sometimes you just need to come down to earth.
Who should I strike?
You can strike your enemies when times get tumultuous and thunderous.
Do more, Davos. Straight at Davos.
But, like, what if I just get angry at someone? Can I down?
Well, you can build, like a storm, you can build up and over time gather a charge, and when the time is right, you will strike those who truly deserve it, and you will know who those people are.
So like this, and I kind of like go, and I try to blow myself up really big, and just like, and my hair just kind of goes sizzle.
Yeah, you see like the majority of Ko's hair like stand on end for a second,
it's literal,
and
for some reason.
At the edges, there's just kind of smoke at the tips of her hair, and she's just like.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
I'd say that's the one.
Cool. So you're all walking along, and Ko, at this point, you kind of look up and see that there are a few clouds in the sky. Once or twice, you see that there's like an eagle that's darting in and out of like the forest, comes across one of these clouds, just soaring along in like an updraft.
When I see the eagle, I kind of run and I'm like, don't go through me, I'm a cloud, and I just try to run away.
Yeah, you like run about 10 feet ahead of the wagon, and you're like yelling at this thing that's about 200 feet in the air. You're just like, don't go through me, I'm a cloud. And Davos, she comes up beside you, and you're just like, oh, what? But
I barely noticed.
Yeah.
While this is happening, or like when they're done, can I go to Belle? But I will wait patiently.
Yeah, sure. The only thing that I was going to say is that you're all keeping an eye out on the road, and as you're walking along, you can see that there's a few figures that kind of pass, like a couple of people that are obviously just travelers. One guy walking along with a relatively large pack, got a bedroll on the top. He's wearing like purple kind of like overcoat that looks relatively like thick for travel itself, and just some traveling wear underneath, like just clothes that would go day to day. And he kind of looks up at you, and you notice that there's these kind of slightly pointed ears, and he just nods at you guys, and he's like, going south, watch the road. It's a bit dangerous down that way.
Thorax says, I am, and looks harder at the road.
And he kind of like just looks at Thorax as Thoju and him walk by. I'm assuming Thorax is just like sitting on top of Thoju. Seems to be his default at the minute. And just like watches this giant creature walk past, and he's just like, just keeps heading north, and he's like, Daggerford's okay this time of day? Kind of questioning any of you.
It's good ale.
Oh, good.
Go to the Bearded Dragon. Ask for Gus. He'll sort you out.
Oh, cool. And who sent me?
Magnus and friends.
And maybe Co, who has an outstanding tab.
I'll neglect to mention Co, but
That's
I'll definitely go ahead
non-existent.
and find my way to Magnus and friends. Right. And he begins walking north, realizing that for the first time your party has been referred to as Magnus and friends.
Oh, crap.
New channel name.
You got it. As you continue south, this one traveler doesn't really pay you much mind, but you...
Can we meet another traveler and give him a different set of names?
Oh, that's hilarious. You, in this very casual instance, Sil, you're a bit worried, but it doesn't feel like it's going to stick. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, cool. Cool.
We go ahead and continue.
Menagerie.
We continue traveling south, and it starts to get late in the day. You aren't at the foot of the mountain pass that kind of comes up before the misty forest, but it is getting dark, and you think if you were to travel 2 hours, probably 2.5 beyond dark, you would get towards the point of the top of the mountain. But at this point in time, it's just an image on the horizon.
Ooh. So it's getting pretty dark, yeah?
Yeah, like it's mid-late afternoon, just like the sun's pretty low in the west and starting to cast a bit of shadow. You realize that you could find some kind of solace near the base of these mountains and be able to set up before dark, or you can push on, and you know that the pass kind of is a 2-hour walk to the top. And it would be dark by the time you get there.
I say the path will be clearer in the dawn.
So wise.
And kind of keep an eye out for a roughly good camping spot.
Great. So you go ahead, keep your eyes peeled. Go ahead and just roll a perception check for me as you're looking around for a bit of a campsite. 12. Yeah. You guys walk for about another 40 minutes and you begin to get to the point where the base of the tower is sort of coming, base of the mountains is coming together, and the path is ahead. You realize that off to the side there is actually an area where you could set up camp for the evening. You find a bit of solace in the fact that there's like cleared grassland, a couple of trees about, but definitely like open. You can see for a few kind of 100 feet in every direction from where you are. And as you kind of spend this time Davos scouting out of sight, you realize that there's not much life around here. Like everything seems pretty quiet. A couple of crows kind of fly by at one point. But other than that, there doesn't seem to be much life as such. So you all begin to get your sort of packed down, and what's happening as you set up your site for the day, for the night? Sorry.
Thorax goes. Does he has to cast a spell to talk to animals, or just can he do it?
Yeah, it would be speak with animals, which is a spell.
Okay. Anyway, he does that, and he says to one of the crows, "How you doing?"
Yeah, the crow kind of, like he casts it and you see the crow beginning to fly away and it just kind of looks up at him and it's just like, no food left. just continues sort of like flying on its path.
Well, what if we're the food?
I can't think of a witty comeback like Kelvin can.
Fair.
It's a nun as well. It's a nun as well.
Witty.
I've got a mouthful for you.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
For some reason, Magnus says, "I've got a mouthful for you."
Example.
Very.
Is he eating
Very
at the
odd.
time or what?
No, he's
What's the
just kind of pulling stuff off the cart. There's not really much going on. Yeah. Odd. He's odd. You go ahead, begin to bunker down for the evening, and you light a fire, begin to heat up some of the food that you've brought along. There's a few raw meats that you've taken from Gus's ration so that you could have a hot meal while you were on your travel south to Lightwatch. And with bellies full, campfire stories told, a few people kind of relaxing for the evening. Who are the two that are going to stay on watch for the first watch? Realizing
can
that
Belle and I take first watch, please?
Yeah,
I'd still be mad at you, Magnus. I still wouldn't want to be talking to you.
I'm going to insist.
I'll take the dawn.
Nice.
I'll be in the middle of the night, or I'll be like third or fourth or whatever. I don't really mind.
Cool. So with two people on watch, you could probably make 2 sets of watches to get through a long rest. So 2 for the first watch, 2 for the second.
I'm not going to sleep. I'm going to take a point of exhaustion, and I'm going to stay up all night reading.
Oh, cool. Okay, sweet. So you kind of you conjure a very dim light with your dancing lights spell. Kind of rather than being like sort of baseball-sized orbs that emit like very large light, they just end up being these kind of pinpricks that are like circling around the top of the page and just casting enough light to keep your book lit. And you sit down and begin reading. For this first book, it's going to take about, I'd say, 16 hours to get through the entirety of the book. So you begin reading and start to acquire some knowledge, but you'll need to take another 8 hours of reading this book to get the entire meaning from it. So yeah, Magnus is up the entire night. So Belle, you were going to take the middle of the night watch, realizing that Magnus is kind of already there for the first. You bunker down. Who else was going to sit with Magnus on this first watch?
I'll do the first watch.
Yeah, so Davos is doing the first watch with Magnus. And everyone else begins to find rest. Ko, what were you saying?
I was going to do the shift with Belle.
Okay, yeah, you can
make sure she's okay, because I'm worried about my friend.
Yeah, sure. So, Magnus, Davos, you're awake, sitting around by the fire. It's kind of crackling. Magnus is flipping through this book. Davos, what are you doing?
I'm kind of understanding my bond with Navaris.
Yep.
It's kind of weird because it's like a telepathic force.
Yeah.
But I'm also confused because my sword has started glowing.
Just like
means that it's like a theme.
You haven't. Yeah, you haven't gone
I
ahead.
have a dick sword. No, who has the dick sword?
Oh, Ko has the dick bone that she carved out of a bone. It's not really a functional weapon. It would definitely be like improvised weapon. But
it is a weapon if you bend them over.
That being said, all swords do vaguely resemble dicks.
Yeah, I mean, to penetrate someone with a sword is
sorry, that was not
PG-13
PG-13 of me.
Oh, that's all right. We aren't definitely not PG-13 here. We fall into...
I think we should all have some kind of smutty weapon.
For the secret sect's dungeon.
The Vad shield.
So, Davos, you realize for the first time that as you withdraw Fiend Bleed, that, it begins shredding this, 5-foot sort of area around you of moats, just lighting the entire area, and you're like, this is weird. And then you realize that there's got to be a fiend nearby. And just roll a perception check for me. 17. You scout around the campsite, begin to head off into the forest, and using your dark vision, you can still see through the forest itself, and you can see that there's not really anything about. Even in the denser areas where there's a lot of scrub, you kind of get down on your hands and knees a few times and begin getting quite far away from camp, knowing that Magnus is still there keeping a watch.
What are you doing?
At this point, it's kind of... He's almost out of earshot, and everyone else is asleep at the moment. And you kind of, in hushed stage whisper, you're just like, "What are you doing?" Davos.
I turn around. Yeah, I turn around to Magnus, and I recognize that he is a scholar, and almost I walk up to him and I indicate at my sword, and I see. This means a fiend is nearby, or a demon.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of look at him, look at the horse, look at him, look at the horse, and kind of motion towards it.
And you look at the horse, Davos. It's a picture of not exactly Lathander's light. You kind of walk a bit closer and you realize that Fiendblade is kind of like doing the same thing still, and you're just like, I don't know, man. And you begin to sort of walk a perimeter. And you get to a point maybe about 150, 200 feet away from camp. You can see just like the tiniest bit of light from where Magnus is sitting. And Fiendblade goes back to the usual like single speck of light that kind of bleeds off the blade because you possess it. And as you begin walking back towards camp, it sort of re-emerges all of these like points of light like floating around you, just circling. It's pretty clear that there's something fiendish about this creature that you've called forth as your steed.
I go up to Magnus and I say, I think it might be the horse.
I didn't quite catch that.
I think it might be the horse.
I just
and I say that as if I've genuinely discovered it myself.
I'm just sort of like, my gods, I think you're right. Good catch, Davos.
I genuinely feel proud of my intelligence.
Very nice. You kind of like resheath Fiendblade, and the scabbard itself is kind of just like glowing a little. It doesn't have much light sort of bleeding through, but where it's stitched, there's little points of light that kind of come through. Magnus, you sit there reading for a while. I'll get both of you to roll a perception check at this point in time, just to see that nothing else is going on as you're standing around. Oh, well, sitting around, I'm assuming, and making a lovely night of having a watch.
Is that a perception?
Yeah, one perception check from each of you.
7.
Should I like be disadvantaging because I'm reading, or?
You know what? Definitely. I was going to say it earlier, and then I forgot when we started talking about, is the horse a fiend? But yes, at disadvantage, please.
$13.
7 and 13. Lovely. So, you guys sit around for a while. Nothing really seems to be happening. Something like smashes across the campsite. Not smashes, sorry, darts across the campsite. And you look around for a second and you're like, that was weird. nothing in sight that really like would have triggered anything for you guys. Sort of look around a bit.
So are we like alarmed at this?
It's surprising, but it didn't seem large. It didn't seem like it would have been like it could have been a bug. It was relatively
okay. Can I like
whatever it was
with my lights just sort of like put them up in the air and brighten them a bit just so I can take a look?
Yep. And you kind of like cast this light out to the 30 feet range that it usually has and begin to spin these lights around. It doesn't seem like there's anything about. You have a bit of a look around and all clear.
Okay, well, I shrink them back down and go back to the
dark vision for 60 feet. Does that see anything?
Yeah, so even beyond the 30 feet of the light, it doesn't seem like there's anything out there. You made a good perimeter earlier of like walking around trying to figure out if there was a fiend about. Definitely doesn't seem like there is anything.
All right.
Yeah, there was this.
I'm completely satisfied there's nothing around.
Cool. So you guys get through your watch fine. Davos, you take rest, and Belle, I believe you were waking up at about this time. Davos kind of comes over and taps you on the shoulder. What do you say, Davos?
I like slunk my shoulder. Like I'm like, oh, don't touch me.
I say nothing and walk off.
Yep. So Belle, you're awake. You can see that there's just a few small embers left in the fireplace at the moment. Ko is about like maybe 10 feet away from you, and you can see currently there's a bit of drool running down the side of her mouth that is sizzling like on her skin, and she kind of like is very passed out. What are you up to?
So I think about waking her up, and then I think better of. I'm like, she probably just needs the rest, and then I just sit near like the dying fire, and pick up my books and start reading through all my notes and start preparing what I want to do for the next day, like spell wise and all that kind of stuff.
Sure, cool. So you go ahead and sit down, begin pulling like the book out and having a bit of a look at what's going on, and you realize maybe after 10 minutes of standing about that, Magnus is sitting up against the tree over there reading. There's like a few.
Okay, then I look at Ko and then I just budge her gently, and I'm like, actually, no, I don't want to deal with this, so I'm just going to wake Ko up to keep me company, and then maybe Magnus won't talk to us.
Cool. So you nudge Ko awake, and.
What time is it?
It's watch time. Rise and shine.
Look out, there's a dog.
Right behind you.
Ah! Our cat's outside our door yelling at me, but I'm like pretending that I don't hear him, so hopefully he leaves me alone.
Sounds like you and Davos.
That's hilarious.
Well met.
Well met. So,
love you, Gabbles.
Ko, you're awoken by Belle, and you can see that Magnus is kind of sitting over, reading through a book. There's like a pile of 5 others sitting next to him, just page after page, turning them over.
I kind of look up and I see him doing that, and then I also, in my tired state, I'm like, do you need a spell? Or are we looking for spells?
I just sit down and I said, I wonder what we were doing. I can't believe we have to go back to this place. I thought we were done with it.
What place?
We're heading back to the Light Tower, the Lightwatch Tower.
Oh, yeah. Why?
I just shrugged and I said, apparently that's what we were doing.
I thought we killed the witch. She was a bitch. And then I laughed because I rhymed.
And I was like, maybe. I said, maybe I forgot something really important. Maybe it could be worth my while. What do you think?
Do you need me to steal something?
And I ponder a lot. I ponder a bit about like maybe, and then I just like do this with my eyebrows.
Suddenly I wake up and I'm like, do I get any gold?
I said, well, what else are we gonna do while these macho guys try and show off?
Kill things? I'm up for killing things.
And then I'm like, can I reanimate them?
I don't care. If it makes my bell happy.
So then I sit there and I just ponder about what we're doing and why we're doing it, and I just like watch the embers in the fire.
Cool.
The fire in my hair or the fire in the fire?
It's
cool.
too dreamy,
so, your books are open, and there's like a small amount of orange light that's sort of bathing them, and you have a bit of a look over a spell once or twice, and you're just like, nah. You like sit there, and there's something in your mind, Belle, that kind of clicks, and you're just like, I fucking did it. I made a thing go alive. That was cool. More to come.
Yeah, pretty much.
You
That's what I'm doing.
As you're kind of staring into the fire, Belle, go ahead and roll perception checks for me as you keep watch. Magnus, you're a little placated by the fact that there's two people awake, and you really dive into what you're reading.
Can Jordan, that my video's off at the moment, can I ask how many hours have passed? Because I'm in a bit of a trance, but it goes for about 4 hours, then I wake up.
Yeah, easily. Like you'd probably be getting close to waking up at this point in time. I'd say that just as this conversation kind of finishes up between Belle and Co after they've awoken, and they're kind of sitting on watch for about an hour, they go ahead and see. They go ahead and become silent, and you wake up. But for just this moment, going to go ahead and have the results from those perception checks.
I think we both got 18.
Yeah, I got 19 and...
Oh, yeah, sorry. You're better than me.
19 and 18. Look, you're great, but I don't feel that way. So you go ahead, looking around side. It seems like everything's fine. There's nothing moving. You've picked a pretty good spot to go ahead and rest for the evening. There's not really much you could imagine that is going to go on tonight. And Belle, you begin staring back into the fire again, watching the embers kind of like crack and split open. Magnus.
Yes.
You're deep in your book right now. You're reading. They talk about in this book the Sealy Court and how it kind of represents the light in the Fae, and how it is, all of the things virtuous and, nurturing within the area. And the Unsealy Court begins to talk, like the book begins to mention that the Unsealy Court talks about the trickery and the fun that can be had in the Fae. And you're reading intently, like page after page of this really interesting, different nobles of these courts. And you feel the lightest touch on your shoulder blade, as though something is crawling up your back at the moment.
Okay, I do like one of these guys. Yeah.
Cool. You go to swat, and like something moves about 6 times around you and lands on the pages in front of you. You see this tiny creature, humanoid in form, blue-skinned, lightning crackling from the edges of its eyes, and it is holding a dagger at its side. It looks up at you and it says, Never try to swat at us. It will not work well for you in the long run. You're lucky I don't drive this, and it pulls out this dagger that's maybe only about... It's small. It looks almost like a toothpick by comparison to the daggers that you would wield. And it's like, it's not a wise move to be trying to do this to someone that is bringing you good news. Is it? And it kind of like pushes the dagger against the front of you.
Look, my apologies. I'm very, very sorry. You just startled me.
I'm just a messenger. I'm here to do what I am told. So, if you wouldn't mind, can I?
You bring word. Yes. Tell me.
Yes. Magnus. Oh, Magnus. Well, the Shade is happy. You have been using things correctly, doing what you need to do. It's wonderful that you have your powers now. You need to go ahead and continue on this endeavor before you come and meet him. In the way that you have been looking for things on the Fae, continue to inquire about the Sealy Court. We would really like to see... And she like walks across this page and places the dagger across some of the images that are on the page and just kind of drags it. And you see that the dagger is just like going across the throat of each of the people that run the Sealy Court. And it just like kind of stops at the end. And it's just like, we definitely would like some information on these people. And if you can provide it, you'll definitely be in a very good way with the Shade. If for the moment you feel like you are not being looked after, or you are not being taken care of, or there's something that you are being neglected by, perhaps you should consider this. And he like looks up over your shoulder, and you can see that there are 2 other quicklings that are standing, holding onto like sections of bark as though they are like jutting like branches off of this tree. And the 2 of them together are holding this sheathed weapon. And you can see that there is a short sword that is slung between them. And the sheath that it is within is kind of a whole heap of like pressed leather. There is like small amounts of what almost looks like skin of some sort, but it is like shiny. There is like, as though not necessarily dragon skin, but it is scaled, and it has been like pressed in place. You see that as you look towards the tip of the scabbard, on either side there is a tooth that kind of holds the scabbard slightly opened. And you look back towards the hilt and can see that there is a golden ring that kind of seems to be a wreath, and 3 gemstones that are along the handle, all diamonds. And they say, consider this investment, and if you are able to help us with what we're after, we're going to have a wonderful time. And do come meet us at some point soon. For now, bye. And in the moment that they finish saying that, all 3 of them disappear. And this weapon, kind of like, just with a single thud, lands on the ground.
So for the next 2 hours, I'm not going to be reading. I'm going to spend 1 hour turning this into my packed weapon and the other attuning to it because I'm hoping it's magical.
Sure. You can hope it. Doesn't mean that it's true. But okay, so it begins getting relatively kind of... Oh, no, actually, Sil, you wake up at this point and you can see that Bell, Co are sitting around the fire, and that Magnus is kind of like still looking at his book. He's got it kind of propped up on his knees, and he just seems intently looking directly at the pages. You awake slowly out of your trance, and see that it is still dark. It's very dark still.
Yes, well... Magnus doesn't look sus at all. Classic Magnus reading a book. And then the other 2...
Roll an insight check if you want.
Yeah, 2 seconds here. Rolling. Oh shit. I got, what would that be? 19 and 5. 24.
24. He's like mouthing something. You can't quite hear him at this point. But he's definitely like he's looking at the book and like mouthing something as his eyes look across the page, and then he kind of stops talking to himself, and his eyes just kind of run across the page. Yeah, Magnus is a weird dude. You go ahead and like look across to the campsite and see Bell and Co. kind of both, sporadic conversation, just shooting shit really.
Cool. I go over to them.
Cool.
And totally third wheel.
Nice.
I look up.
Third wheel.
Yeah. Well, I just
Good
look up at
morning.
him. I just look up at him. I kind of like tilt my head in acknowledgement that he's just talked, and then I just look back at the fire.
Are you still upset over before?
Maybe.
Yeah, that's...
And he kind of just trails off.
Bell?
Oh no, Belle dropped out. Oh, there she is. But yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I think this.
I think we lost Sil.
Okay.
I'm still here.
Oh no, Sil just kind of like totally just zones out. He's just like, well,
Hello.
that's it.
I just continue staring at the fire.
Cool. So you guys get through the last hours of your watch, and it begins to become light in the sky. Magnus, you go ahead and spend 1 hour turning this weapon into your packed weapon. It's a pretty elaborate procedure. You spend a lot of time like placing like certain items that you've acquired from the shed. You take your what you keep as almost your focus and place it upon the weapon and begin chanting through the ritual that you know that would make this into your packed blade. You do so, and upon the hour finishing, it just vanishes in a puff of green energy. You take a few moments. Yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say, do I need to spend an additional hour attuning, or as my packed weapon, am I attuned to it?
Oh, that's a really good point. You could... are you automatically attuned to your packed weapon? D&D rules. I will double check that for you. So, as a Warlock, not a sorcerer, packed boon, packed of the blade. You are proficient with it. Counts as magical. Weapon. The weapon ceases to be a pack weapon if you die, if you perform the 1 hour ritual, or if you use a 1 hour ritual to break it. It doesn't say anything about it being attuned to you automatically, but just let me go ahead. Yeah, it does require attunement. So, you spend the next hour as the sky begins to just light. You realize that you're at the end of realizing, of kind of noticing what this weapon is. You draw it from its sheath for the first time as you summon it from the extra dimensional plane that you like shunt it into. And the blade it doesn't taper. It doesn't like change. The only thing that you notice about this is the like very organic shape of the point. It kind of like is true steel for like 90% of the blade, and then right at the end it begins to curve in this very natural sort of like the lines of steel almost fold towards it. You realize that you have a luck blade. You gain a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls made with the weapon. And while the sword is on your person, you gain a +1 to saving throws. So luck. If the sword is on your person, you can call on its luck to re-roll 1 attack roll, ability check, or saving throw you dislike. You must use the second roll, and this property can't be used again until the next dawn. And then there is Wish. The sword, the sword has 1d4 minus 1 charges. While holding it, you can use an action to expend 1 charge and cast the Wish spell from it.
No, bullshit.
This property cannot be used again until the next dawn. The sword loses this property if it has no charges.
What happens if he rolls a 1?
What was that, sorry?
If he rolls a 1 on the d4, does that mean he gets 0?
If he rolls a 1 on the d4, it will regain 0 charges.
Oh man, that's so cool.
Wish is like the biggest thing in the game.
Tis. So, you go ahead and realize this, and the power that comes with this blade.
I rolled a 4.
Cool. So it is currently at 3 charges on its dawn. So you are ecstatic with the weapon you've received. You go ahead and sitting about the campfire, realize that Syl, Bell, Co are all awake. Valkor is still asleep, and Davos is just beginning to stir. You see Thorax is still sleeping atop, sort of spread eagle over the top of this froghemoth, Thoju. And everyone begins to wake. Davos, you're likely first of those that are sleeping. You begin your morning ritual.
Mm-hmm.
You realize that your steed has disappeared.
What?
What's the timing on your spell, sorry?
It's forever.
Is it forever? Is it forever?
Yeah, it is forever.
Fine steed is forever. He just went away. Really?
I can dismiss it as an action and then recast it later.
Yeah, right.
Also, if it goes down to 0, it just disappears rather than like as a corpse.
So it just sticks around forever.
Yeah.
That is cool.
I can also recast it and then it gets full health.
Duration instantaneous. Awesome. Okie doke.
Yeah,
your steed has not disappeared. And it is...
No, it's pretty terrifying.
It's like, it's gone! Oh no! But yeah, you wake up, you see that the steed is there. My bad. And the morning is just beginning to light. So.
Good morning. Sun.
Good morn. Dawn signals another day. I'm going to make up new ones because there's only so many ones on the internet.
That's a good point. But you go ahead, go through your prayers of the morning. You spend a bit of time, with Nefaris, and as she kind of awakens with you, you get everything packed, ready to go, waiting for everyone else to wake up. Valkor, you find your way to wakefulness and notice everyone else has risen.
I have risen.
What does your morning routine look like?
Well, it didn't involve a watch, you lazy bastard.
Whoa! Calm your monk down.
That's out of character. The monk is chill.
The monk's like, yeah,
monk
man.
The monk just PMS'd me. Well,
So, you go ahead and you wake up, wipe the sleep out of the corners of your eyes, and what's happening this morning, guys? Just heading on through town. Double through the road to
the horse.
the tavern. Cool. You begin traveling, and as you get underway, I'll just get everyone to roll a group perception check as we get on the road.
8.
19.
5.
5.
11.
11.
That was a good roll, Chris.
It was one above pass mark.
That is correct.
Sebastian, I should be at disadvantage on skill checks, right?
Correct.
So instead of 19, it is 11.
11. Okay. Davos? Davos.
He got a 10.
Sil? Okay. So, unless Sil gets a natural 20, you guys continue walking and don't realize too much that's going on. You take a bit of time on the road to just relax, stretch your legs, breathe in the fresh air, and you make your way up this sort of mountain as you head over towards the misty forest in the south.
Sorry to interrupt, but Jordan says that his computer has just died.
Oh no! Technical difficulties.
Guess he wasn't fast enough to outrun that one.
That's a good point. Well, we can go ahead and take a short break here while everyone gets amongst a bit of fixing up technical difficulties, and we might jump into the Twitch chat and see what's going on. If anyone's about there at the moment, I'm going to be there, and I reckon we may have some others of our players that will come and join us. But we're just going to take 2 or 3 minutes as we get a few things sorted out, and hopefully we'll be back shortly. But we'll just be in chat, so come say hi. And others of our players that will come and join us. But we're just going to take 2 or 3 minutes as
look at that. These messages.
Your mic's dying, babe.
That's okay. Hello, Twitch. Got 5 people chilling here. Who's up? Kazzy.
They're all some of them are part of our D&D Australia stuff.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Hello, D&D Australia. May as well give you guys a bit of a shout out over on Facebook at the moment. If you want to go and get amongst some local games in Australia and you aren't sure where to go, head over to D&D Australia Dungeons and Dragons, I believe is the name of the chat, Gabby.
Sorry?
The name of the page. What's the name of it?
Dungeons and Dragons Australia or D&D Australia.
So D and
I think
as in ampersand?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
As in, like, I can try and do the sign, but it's just a finger.
Wait, I can see if I can do the thing with this. I did it wrong. It doesn't matter. But yeah, go ahead, head over there, and you'll be able to.
Dragons Australia.
Yeah. So you can go ahead and find a local game, and at the moment we're doing. They're doing a bit of a what do you call it? Like a competition for the logo of the site. So go ahead and give that a go. If you are artistly inclined, I am definitely not. I tell stories. That's my digs. But
it's the type of artist.
it is a type of art, and hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Oh, 22 enemies. Thanks for putting the group link up in the chat.
I'm so lazy.
That you are.
I'm like the secretary, and I'm just like, yep, he's got this.
Yeah, you got it, babe.
So, how is everyone enjoying the game? Having fun so far?
Is that to us or the audience?
Let's go both.
Yes.
It's Av.
It's Av. Right. Well.
Holy crap, and you live with him.
Yeah, it's pretty...
Oh,
she's
tonight.
ballsy.
I know.
She's ballsy, man.
On the DM, yeah. I'm balls.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yes.
Tonight.
Beck's sleeping on the couch tonight with the dog. No, the dog's with Luke.
The couch is really comfy, so I really don't care.
I was about to say, I'll sleep on the couch with the dog.
I said it most nights, actually, and Luke said it last night, so winner.
You can use my room, Beck.
Oh, you're such a sweetheart. I love being in your relationship.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It is a privilege for you.
Yeah, don't worry.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that Jordan might be out for a little while, so I'm going to go ahead and fix up our overlay here, and we'll get back to the game. But in the meantime, what's happening with you guys as you wake up and get going on the road?
Magnus goes and finds a tree and relieves himself on it because that's what I'm going to go do to part.
Yeah, good. I mean, people do need to urinate. You go ahead and take a whiz, and
I think he needs to roll a
dexterity check. Yeah, dexterity check for sure.
And a nature check to make sure he actually.
I rolled for him. He got a 3.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, someone's going to pee on their hush puppies.
Yeah, piss down their pants. Doesn't quite happen, but you go ahead and relieve yourself, Magnus. Fantastic news. Anyone doing anything else before you get on the road?
No, I just finished preparing all my spells ready for the day.
Good news.
Does Thorax need to feed Soju?
Yeah, he would.
Probably.
Did Thorax buy rations before he left town?
Probs not.
No, he didn't.
Thorax.
He stole some from Magnus and Davos.
Okay, cool. So go ahead and roll 2 sleight of hand checks with advantage. I'm sure he would have done this in the evening.
What check?
2 sleight of hand checks.
He's probably going to lose his hands.
Goodbye, pants.
12 and 9, but I don't know what his modifiers are.
Okay, so 12, 9. I'm going to say he's probably got at least a +1, +2 for dexterity, so that'll be 14. While people are asleep, it's reasonable enough. He pinches about 3 days of rations from you guys collectively. 2 from who were you saying he was stealing from?
Magnus and Davos.
Mm-hmm. So 2 come from you, Davos, and 1 comes from Magnus. So Magnus mark off a single day of rations, and Davos mark off 2. So we go ahead, continue heading south, and as you do, the day wears on. You make your way over the castle, over the ridge of the mountains that are coming up, and as you head south, continuing towards the lonesome coach, you make it to the other side. It gets later in the day. You don't really see much travel on the road at this point. Is anyone shooting shit?
Thorax
Like
constantly.
literal shit, because I'll totally get like a.
I'll get a poo break in. No, so you guys, if there's nothing to be,
I'll slingshot it. That's it. Slingshot it.
yeah, you slingshot it, and as you go ahead, continue heading south. It begins to get later in the day. You make your way to the Lonesome Coach at nightfall. It seems that there is a small amount of people here. There's a caravan like out the front, like a large sort of round-topped wagon, and there's a few horses that seem to be in the stables out the back. You begin to walk inside, and you see that there's probably about maybe 10 people in here. And Dabe Maticblade, the owner of the Lonesome Coach, is running around like mad, just kind of dropping drinks, dropping food off. You see Grundlefitz, the dwarf that you met in the past, that's still sitting at the bar, seemingly like he hasn't moved, still just holding an ale glass and putting more down. There's a bit of a nature of excitement in the tavern between the people that are kind of sitting around and drinking, and you assume that there's like a group of travelers that are on their way through. Whether they're heading north or south, you're not sure, but you can see that there's like an older gentleman that's sitting around telling a story to some young kids, and there's a few couples that are kind of sitting off drinking near the bar. So what are you all doing?
I'm securing the horse and the car in like the stable area.
Okay, cool. So
to the
you go
stable area too, and see if Randall's there.
Cool. So you go ahead and head towards the stables. You follow Davos around the corner and see that there's no one out here at the moment, but there's definitely a hitching post or a like a, what do you call it? Fucking thing where horses stay. Stable.
A stable.
There is a stable. Well done, brain. You catching
garage.
Up. There's a garage. You just like a single lock up. You roll it up, and but there is a spare stable at the moment. There's two horses that are already like very large drays that are already like within one of the stables, kind of partitioned so that they can be on their own. And yeah, you take Nefaris into this one stable, Davos. She's kind of walking along the top of hay, and there's just like singeing the edges of this wet hay. Luckily not catching a light, and you manage to bolt it shut. Magnus, by this time, you see that Davos is like, putting his horse down for the night. There's no one about at the moment. You can see, however, that as it gets dark, the moon is beginning to wax from where you were down here roughly 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, roughly, and that was when it was fully like a full moon, the harvest moon, in fact, which is one of the larger of the year. As it's begun to wane, you see that the forest is a little bit dimmer, and though you can still see the beginning of the track behind the tavern. You head back inside, and as you do, you see that Lawrence is actually tending bar. He is pulling drinks, making sure that food is brought from the kitchen, and essentially just keeping the patrons happy at the moment.
Okay, well, I'll go up to the bar and I will say, hello there.
He's like, "Oh, Magnus, it's lovely to see you again. How's everything going? I wasn't expecting you back down this way. Can I get you anything?"
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to be back down this way this soon again either, but circumstance has brought me here.
Right.
Yeah, I'll just grab an ale. That'd be great. Thanks.
Certainly. It's good to see you. And he like walks off and grabs the glass. The Stein begins pulling an ale down and brings it back over. There's a good bit of head on top of it, and he's just like, "It's 2 copper for that one."
I slide it across, and then I'm like, so how have you been doing since everything?
Oh well, it can be tough getting about doing things day to day. I give it my best shot, and it's lovely having musicians around at the moment. They've been here for a few days now, but they are quite a lovely bunch. That keeps me happy, and I keep myself busy. How are you? What came of Lightwatch? We didn't see you on your way out, really.
Actually, that's why we're back. We're going to be heading back there to check in on a few things.
Right.
But everything's fine there.
Okay. That is good to know. We have had 1 or 2 people coming by asking about the location and seeing whether there was word that had travelled south from Daggerford about adventurers, yourselves obviously, that were clearing the area, and I assured them that it had been cleared, and they were not too keen to head along themselves just yet. They heard about the death of Dave's son, and Randall is still dear in our hearts. So we have word that you are doing great things.
I don't want to pry, and feel free to tell me that this isn't something I should be asking you about, but did you ever wind up talking to Dave about things?
I did. It was a sore morning the next day. And he kind of looks back to the bar, and you see that there's like a whole line of like bottles of whiskey, and there's an interruption about 2/3 away along, and 2 bottles are missing. And he kind of looks back to you and he just says, day after I needed to talk with him, I couldn't leave it and tell him. I couldn't let that go on. So I went ahead and told him, and we sat and drank for the night and just reminisced. It was a wake of sorts. We spent time telling stories of Randall, and it's nice to still be here and working. Don't know where else I'd be.
Well, I'm glad that you two could find some solace in each other.
Well, yes, it's not to say that it's all smooth sailing, but we definitely are on good terms, and that's all I can ask for, really, after something like this. So, anyway, what have you been doing? And you kind of regale him then with tales of what you've been doing over the past few days, week and a half, and as you kind of get a little bit longer in the stein that you're drinking, you notice that Dave is kind of like slowly greeting you all, and he's like, "Do you all need rooms? I can scratch them up for you if you need. We've got Mostly, I mean, it looks like we're busy, but these guys stay outside. They like their wagons. I think we've got, the same rooms you were in last time even. Grundle he fucks off at about, 4 hours after deck. So, no problems, a few gold and we'll have you bedded for the night. And yeah, you're all kind of chilling at the moment.
Cool.
Is there anything that anyone wanted to do before an evening's rest?
Check if people can hear still.
I can hear you still.
I can't.
That's a big thumbs up, buddy.
Okay, carry on.
By the way, just quickly, whilst there's a bit of a lull, Beck, is there a reason why you're not on camera? Because everyone's asking you back for Fela.
Oh, it's because I'm cuddling with her and I'm on the floor, so I can put her back if you want.
We want the dog.
I think they'd be pretty happy. I think we'll get more followers just from like Puppy View.
Puppy.
She's just sleeping with me. I'm just cuddling with her on the floor, which is why I turned it off because I'm on the floor. And I didn't want to look lazy, but I am lazy, but I'm on the floor.
I love that so much about you.
That's good.
I just love you.
So, as you all go ahead and begin to bunk down for the night, I'm assuming, you get a wonderful evening's rest being in a bed rather than on a bedroll out in the wild. Magnus, you go ahead and draw your blade once more once you are safely in the comfort of your home, or of your room. You draw it forth and just spend time looking at it, and it feels as though it almost speaks to you in some ways, and you get these feelings of like, independence and, go forth and do things and like getting, follow what has been given to you. You're not sure of life in your younger years, but you do feel that you're on a good path here. There's something that can be done about that in the current world that you're working through. So,
can I get another couple hours reading in before bed?
Yeah, definitely. Like you take a relatively early night and get another 4 hours before you need to go ahead and start thinking about bed. So you're about 4 hours off on reading that first book on the courts. So you go ahead, get some rest after that. Everyone else sleeps. You hear that there is music outside. There is like frivolity, people like dancing around the wagon outside. They kind of light a fire slightly off of the area out the front of the wagon, the tavern, and go ahead and they dance and sing into the early hours. You all eventually find rest and wake in the morning, feeling refreshed. Davos, you wake with the sun, like clockwork. You realize that Thorax has taken his rest outside amongst the horses and Thoju. And everyone else finds their way to wake. Is there anything you're doing at the tavern in the morning before you set out?
Having a feed.
Good. I was going to say otherwise, make sure that you guys have marked off 3 days of rations thus far. So 2 days of rations for everyone that has been moving about. And as you
I want to buy some ration.
Yeah, I was thinking to grab a bit more food.
Cool. So you go ahead and at the rate of rations, which in my lovely place handbook has, oh, look at that, straight to the page. Rations, 5 silver pieces for 1 day. So every 2 days is going to cost you a gold piece. And you know that you've got at least 1 day out to Lightwatch, 1 day back, and then 5 days south to, what's the name of the place? Baldur's Gate, before you actually do end up with another location to buy food.
Cool.
Buy more.
Cool. So for all of you, if you were to all buy food, you would be getting about 3 days of rations each.
Yep.
And if you would like to do that, then it's 1 gold piece each and 5 silver pieces. So mark them off and add yourselves 3 days of rations. And we will head to Lightwatch Tower. Falcor, you know this road well. This is something you were tracking for a while, and this tavern originally is where the adventurers found you. It's bittersweet being home. There's a few things that remind you of your past here. Some pleasant, some not so much. And as you begin tracking through the woods, roll a survival check with advantage for me, as you know this path well.
Okay. Yeah. 13 plus 4, 17.
17, cool. Without too much trouble, you find the beaten path along this relatively like meandering bushwalk. You head through. Everyone makes relatively good pace, and at one point in time, you narrowly avoid some of the ivy that kind of grows up onto the path, and warn everyone not to brush by. You lead everyone towards the Lightwatch Tower, and after a large day of traveling, you begin to set sight on a clearing. As you walk into this clearing, you notice that the edges of the clearing are scattered with bones.
There's bones, guys.
And as he says, there's bones, guys, you can see there's almost like a ring of about 5 feet around the edge of the clearing that just continues off into the edges of your vision. Femurs, feet, ribs, skulls, hands, humeruses, all.
Are we in Belle's bedroom?
All of these bones also are gilded in gold.
Oh shit.
Sword.
You take out your sword?
Can we take the gold?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, if you want to go ahead and start peeling gold, like, slowly off of the bones, you can do that. So yeah, you cast?
I cast Divine Sense, which is... So I walk out into the clearing and then it's 6 feet detect.
Cool. So you walk out into the clearing. Are you going like 60 feet out into the clearing as you bring sort of the cart like with you guys?
I go like 20 feet in and then cast it.
Cool. So you're standing around and you cast your Divine Sense. Just take a moment in like at the foot of this extremely like reverent place. You cast your Divine Sense and immediately realize that there is a fiend nearby. And 2 seconds.
And then it's my horse.
Yeah, 2 seconds after that, you get this signal that's just like, it's me from Nefaris. And you look around. There's nothing else. And it seems clear within the 60 feet, which kind of extends relatively close to the tower.
Okay. Well, I go up the path up to the church area.
Cool. And yeah, as you do, you manage to like you really take in as the sun begins to set the site of Lightwatch and realize that in its in its early days when it was first built, it was obviously a very beautiful place. There's restorations that could be done here, the stained glass being replaced, the lichens that have begun to grow on the sides of the tower just cleaned back and really bring it to that shining beacon that was a sort of, touchstone for Lathander. You walk up to the doors, and as everyone else is kind of straggling along behind, what is everyone doing?
Are we near that first room that had the magical darkness when we came here the first time?
If you were to walk up to the tower, you would be. Yep. That's a good point. Are you guys walking up to that room, or are you walking around to the back where the hag had her kind of lair?
I'm leading up to the main area because it's like a church area with like an altar and stuff.
Yep.
I'd like to check out that room because after we killed the hag, we never went back, so we don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so...
If it's still dark?
Yeah. So you guys go ahead and begin walking into the room that is kind of like set here. The main, I suppose, temple area. The doors swing open after you had removed the very thick steel rod that was behind it. And the room appears to be naturally lit. It kind of has small amounts of sunlight coming through. At this point in time, you can actually see very small amounts of glass that is still left, like golds and greens, silvers, like these very pale tints of glass that are still in the window frames, caught in the evening light. You walk in, see that there are the bones of those that you vanquished in the past, and Davos, you can see that the altar itself is, though soiled, still intact. It is in relatively good condition.
I ask Syl to help me move the coffin to there and start preparing the dawn ceremony thing.
Cool. So you go about tidying the place with Syl. The two of you make a good job of it, spending about an hour cleaning up around here, getting all of the refuse outside. Bones go outside as well. And as you're cleaning up, just roll a perception check for me. 3. Syl also. 10. 21. 11. 11. Okay, so you guys find a couple of pieces of copper spread about on the ground. There's 5 copper that you kind of just pocket as you're doing this, each of you. And you end up with this place looking relatively clean and tidy. Now, within this hour, Ko, Bell, Falcor, Magnus, what are you guys doing?
Rummaging. Everywhere.
Just looking for shit?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Inside of the tower, or...
Actually, I should probably do an investigation check, hey?
Yeah, cool. Go for it.
$17 and 3, so I get 20.
20, cool. So as you're looking around, these skeletons are really well produced. You see that the gold on them, a lot of the time is perfectly attached to, perfectly covering the skull. There's points that the gold kind of hugs a dimple in the skull or on a bone where it would, articulate around a joint. And as you kind of begin looking through, you guys didn't really miss much while you were here the first time, but you realize that you've put together, as you begin moving things around and clearing the area out, you've put together about 6 skeletons worth of bones.
How much is that in coinage?
So you reckon
if you were to... plated?
Yeah, if you were to spend time taking the gold from this, you could probably go ahead and make up a few bars of gold that would be worth maybe 180 gold pieces if you were to sit painstakingly peeling the gold off of these skeletons. It would be the rest of the afternoon, evening before you went to rest if you wanted to do that. Alternatively, roll an intelligence check for me.
Me?
Yeah.
14 and 3, so 17.
17. You know that you could raise these skeletons as dead.
I could, but I would be a bit like, since the last time everyone yelled at me, I'd be a bit reluctant to do anything for a while.
That's fair. Cool. So, anyone else doing anything?
Am I able
I
to...
remember...
Oh, sorry, Falco.
You go, Falco. I'll wait.
If I know the area, am I able to kind of tap the gold and put to my tongue and kind of think, where would this gold have come from?
Yeah, certainly.
Kind of like cocaine.
It's like cocaine, man. You grind up a little bit in your palm, and no, I'm just kidding. You go ahead and have a bit of a look around, and you realize that the majority of these are gold. Roll an insight check for me actually history. Roll a history check for me as you try to figure this out.
18 plus 1, 19.
Not bad.
You're like, crap, I have to answer you.
I was like, oh shit, now I've got to think of something immediately on the spot that I totally didn't just make up. No, you realize that a lot of this gold resembles the alloy that is used for creating coins, and that not much of it would have been mined, forged, and then gilded to these bones. You know that it's likely that over many, many, many years, adventurers have met their fate at Lightwatch, and the gold that has kind of, been used here is likely money that was with those adventurers.
That's a very insightful thought to myself. Damn, I'm good.
You're pretty smart, Falcor. The ways of the land and commerce. Perhaps not so much commerce, but gold.
Yeah, especially when I got the gold down my pants for playing the bagpipe.
You did. 4 gold's nothing to snort at for a buskin tip, man. But anyway.
So it seems like we've checked a lot of places here, huh?
Yeah. So it is evening now. The sun has set, and it is now that you all realize, we're here. And a couple of you are just kind of standing around as Davos and Sil are finishing up what they're cleaning. You see Davos kind of polishing down the top of the Diaz again and again and again, trying to get it to shine. And Davos, you look up at one point, realize that Belle is sitting in a corner reading her book. Magnus is sitting in a corner reading his book. Sil is sitting down meditating. Ko's kind of flipping a dagger in her hand, and Falcor is peeling gold off of one of these skulls and kind of looking at it and flipping it over in his fingers. Thorax is somewhere. And
what's Thoju up to, most importantly? We haven't heard anything about Thoju.
What is Thoju up to?
I reckon the Thorax is grooming him like a bird on top of an elephant.
Or just pecking, his eye sockets, his 3 eyes.
I thought he was chasing moths or something.
So, with the person that has been granted the control of Thorax for the moment, what are Thorax and Thoju up to?
Doing laps around the tower.
Cool. Yeah, just outside. Just running continuously.
Around the building, not the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. You can see that like a tentacle kind of slaps along the stained glass frame every now and again as Thorax is like getting him to hold his tentacles out as he's running, like do like a big cycle of them, and occasionally you just hear, "Yeah, faster, faster!" from outside.
He's also like giving like coaching instructions. Like he's training for some kind of track meet.
Yep. You literally.
I don't know if they exist in this world.
No, like there's definitely animal shows and people being like, "No, I have the most regal owlbear," but you hear at one point they kind of stop and they're like a little ways down the hill, and you can hear Thorax and he's just like, "Puff out that brisket," and then you hear, and he's like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 all good, it's okay." It's okay. We can work on that one. And not quite sure what's happened, but the evening seems to go on, and Davos, you're looking around, realizing that people are depending on you for what you've come here for.
I'd let everybody know that they should get some sleep now and be awake just before dawn to have the final resting ceremony.
Fantastic. So, as the light fades, Magnus, you will have gotten through the last of this book. The last 4 hours of the evening, you spend a bit of time reading. Anyone else trying to get anything done at the moment? Ko, you're sitting about at the moment and a little bored. Is there anything that you're trying to do?
I'm trying to see how many shots I can do in an hour.
Did you take alcohol with you?
The answer is 48.
Of course I did.
Oh, cool, because you didn't say you did.
It's a given.
Okay, well, you still have to buy it. It's not like a flask of continuous alcohol. So you have enough to kind of get a buzz, but you're not drunk. You're trying to do as much fireball as you can, and you run out. You get through 2-3 shots. Yep, and you have no alcohol now.
I complained to Belle.
Yep. And as
alcohol.
Various people complain about alcohol shortages and others prepare for a day that is going to obviously be quite ceremonious in the morning, you all begin to find your rest within Lightwatch Tower, not having heard peep or movement at all throughout the tower or the surrounds. Davos, you are just beginning to pack down for the evening when you lay out your armor, you put your weapons down, laying them next to your armor. You roll out your bedspread and are praying at the end of the night. And you can just hear in the back of your mind this very sort of strong voice for a moment. It just says, "Davos, my son, I thank you for what you are doing here. It is right. Mosing made choices that were not of the path in his last hours in desperation. But you have shown great fortitude in making your way here, despite the worries, and pestering of your party. Continue following the path, son." And it just kind of fades from your mind for a moment. And you feel invigorated and kind of propped up for a moment, and you have a blessing upon you, which will be a D8 to any check that you would like to add that to at any point in the future. You all find rest, unless someone is taking watch, but you can bar this location shut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it secure, or should we still take watch? What do you reckon, guys?
Can I just stay up all night?
Yeah, you can stay awake. You know that staying up all night, you will get a single level of exhaustion, but it definitely does give you like a good, what would you call it? You know, you don't have to worry about someone taking watch if you're staying awake.
Sure. Okay.
Cool. So, welcome back, Sil. My next words are, that is where we will leave it for this evening, as everyone gets a rest for tonight. And until next time, where we will find the adventurers waking the morning after in Lightwatch Tower. I hope you've enjoyed watching Secret Sex Dungeon. I've had a bit of fun playing it. We had some interesting conversation at the beginning there about the matters of life and death and what that all means, which I love. I think it's a really cool concept, and the fact we've got our necromancer in the party always makes it a bit fun. From what I've seen in our Discord chat, Fela has been a wonderful star of the night. And you can actually see me at the minute through that door over the top of the dog. Gonna go ahead and pat the dog right there.
Why aren't you wearing pants?
I am not.
It's a no pants day.
It's a no pants zone in the dining room. But yes, I digress heavily. The thing that I wanted to say is thank you for watching, if you're still there at the moment, Twitch viewers. And we will have this video up on YouTube in a short while. I was really lazy with loading videos up. I've been busy with work, and sorry for that. But if you want to check out what's happened in previous episodes, we've got a YouTube channel. Go to YouTube and search for Secret Sex Dungeon. We also have an Instagram page where a whole heap of memes go up, and we give you live updates as to when shows are going on, what's happening there, and you can find that at instagram.com/Secret Sex Dungeon, or on the app, go ahead and search for Secret Sex Dungeon. And we also have a Facebook page if you want to come and talk to us about the game, talk to us about characters. If there's anything that you think would be interesting to encounter in game, what the hell is Magnus going to do with the wish spells? What chaos will that cause in the world? Yeah, go ahead and go over to facebook.com/Secret Sex Dungeon. As always, well, most of the time when I'm not playing the game, my name is Luke McFan, and I'm your Dungeon Master here. Come back next time we play, which unfortunately will not be next Monday. I will be off in a river somewhere doing my job, and so we will update you on one of those social media, if not all, as to when our next game will be. But for the moment, thank you, adventurers, and thank you, Twitch, for watching. Bye!
Bye.
Let's